Yo, what is going on, my friend? Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Excellence with your main man, Eric Schwefel. Welcome to the podcast where we get straight to the point, where we got the tips, the tricks, where we got the keys to excellence so that you can open up your awareness, you can lead with understanding, and you can know where you're going with clarity and purpose. Yes, we got you here, y'all. We got you. So, what is up? Welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad that I'm back too. It feels good to be back. I'm not going to lie. Today, what I want to get into is kind of like at the beginning of COVID. It's like 3 years ago, right? Because at that time, there was so much stuff going down that I remember not only like myself for a little while, but I remember people were freaking out. You remember all those masks that people wore? You remember people taking an experimental drug that like didn't have any backing behind it? Remember how all this was happening, people were making and coming to conclusions before having any evidence of anything? Like, whoo, it was wild. What a wild time these last couple of years have been. It's just wild, wild, wild. I am planning to go over these times with you a little bit more on different episodes and have like different series in the episodes too, right? So you'll get a taste of something that I call the Aesop's Fables in the next episode, and then we'll start putting in maybe some stuff that you can do in order to manage an everyday life, y'all, because what ends up happening in the world is it gets crazier and crazier and crazier in order to distract you more and more and more from your purpose, from being clear in how you can live this life optimally, right? Like, it's always about putting you into worry, into fear, into doubt, into debt, into whatever it can do that will take your eyes off of feeling good and off of Jesus, really. So with that, from the way, the truth, and the light, right? So with that, I'm very, very excited to start bringing new content and maybe some old content, right? Maybe that we need to that needs to be said again. So what is one of the biggest things, the most important things that we as people can do right now whenever we are going through these times and experiencing these times in the world? And what do I mean by that, right? Like, these times in the world, I'm pretty sure the number is 60,000, but there was something like 60,000 tons of ammonium nitrate. Is that what it was called? That was just disappeared. It was just disappeared like it was stolen. And this is some highly contaminable. It's some highly flammable. It's some highly reactive and volatile stuff, and that just goes missing. It just up and disappeared, right? And then we're being told that we got another virus coming, and all this other stuff is happening in the world. And my initial feelings, my initial like, oh man, what's going to happen? Well, 3 years ago, it was like, all right, let's buckle down. Let's figure out what the hell is happening. 30 tons of ammonium nitrate. During this time, 50 U.S. senators have taken satellite phones. I think it was offered to 100, but only 50 took it. The FDA suggests the internet can go down. Today is May 24th, 2023. Some false flag stuff with the U-Haul, with somebody trying to run into the White House with a U-Haul truck. The U.S. bank, or the U.S. says that it's running out of money. Crisis normalization. That's what I was getting at before. Is crisis normalization is where we're at right now. And when you try to take down a country, right, or you try to freak out the people and divide the people, that's something that ends up happening, right? Is crisis normalization. You just make a whole bunch of shit going on at one time. So it's kind of like social media, right? It takes your attention from here to there to here to there to here. We don't even realize this, most people anyway, is that whenever you kind of get lost in social media, you can go through anywhere between, like, I think the number was 5 and 150 plus videos within a very short period of time. Because you got to think about it. These videos are anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. You get lost in social media for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You can go anywhere from, let's say, 10 videos to up to 50 to 100 videos, depending on how much you're scrolling. That's a lot of information to be taken in at one time. And when have we ever done that before in history? We haven't had that ability to. So a lot of times not realizing how quickly our attention moves, right? And what's happening when our attention moves, we're getting little drops of dopamine. We're getting little triggers, chemical triggers as to what works and what doesn't work for us, right? And we're basically being trained and programmed through those chemical releases. So it's so important to be aware, to understand, and to know what's happening in your world. Now, we can't control what is on the outside of us, right? I can't control what somebody else does. They have their own mind, they have their own thoughts, they have their own abilities. Well, here is the beautiful thing, my friend, and I learned this from one of my coaches, is that we can control everything within the circle that surrounds us. What do I mean by that? If I was to draw a circle with chalk around my feet, I can control almost everything that happens within that circle. I can move my arm up and down. I'm choosing the words that come out of my mouth for the most part. Sometimes I question what comes out of my mouth. And there's a lot of other things along those lines, right? That I can control, that you can control, but we choose not to, or we're unaware of it, right? Like our thoughts. Some believe that you can't control your thoughts, and where I believe that's kind of true, right? There is the choice of the thoughts that you respond to, because sometimes things will just pop up, and like a cloud in the sky, you just have to let it dissipate. Like somebody on a bike, you just have to let it ride by. So with that, you got to understand the things that you can control within that circle allow you to interpret, perceive, and conceive the things that are within and without that circle, right? So if you're not getting sleep, if you're not eating enough, drinking enough, and you're feeling like shit, but you don't know that's the reason that you're feeling that way, then you're going to blame it on external circumstances, when it could just be that you need to take care of yourself a little bit better. You need to, just like a car, you need to give this vehicle a little bit more life in order to get it to run in a better capacity. Otherwise, what's going to happen, right? So, my friend, during this period of time where divisiveness, where crisis normalization is a big thing, and frankly, where they want to demoralize society, right, and groom society in a certain way. Frankly, with all this happening, the one of the best ways that you can help and contribute and resist is and be rebellious and stand against the man. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's so funny, right? One of the ways that can happen is simply by taking care of yourself, right? Is by exercising, by eating properly, by making sure your mental health is good, like getting off your phone a little bit, being outside, being in the sun, checking on your neighbor, make sure that they're doing okay, right? Like all that stuff, it really, really matters, because when you start to check up on others and make sure that they are taking care of themselves, you start to form like this community, right? And it starts to build, and people want to be a part of that community, and they're connected in that community. So if they are not staying connected, if they're not there and things aren't working out, then like it's just not happening. So one of the what's not happening is those results, right? So with results not coming about, what's going to happen with people? They're going to start lingering, they're going to start looking for other things, they're going to start wondering what's okay and what's not okay, and it's just not going to work, right? So with that, I want to give you a quick example that my coach actually gave me, and it was an experiment that was done with rats. If you really want more details, just let me know and I can send that to you. But with the rats, what ended up happening was something along the lines of, they gave rats water with drugs in it. I believe it was cocaine. And when the rats were alone, they would go back to grab that cocaine water more often than not, right? They became addicted to it very, very quickly. But as soon as those cocaine rats were introduced into a community of rats, their want of the cocaine water began to dwindle greatly, where they had the choice between the water with the drugs and the water without the drugs. Soon enough, they were not choosing the water with the drugs anymore, right? Which is amazing to me, I think. Because what does that tell you is when you have the community, you're not going to look for something outside of yourself in order to make you feel better, or a substance in order to make you feel better. You want to find the community that helps and uplifts you. Now, do we know the talk that the rats had, or that they were just together? Right? Like, is it applicable to humans too? It could be, right? But the humans that you surround yourself with are going to be the humans that determine the results that you have, right? And a lot of times, humans, whenever we hang out with each other, we're hanging out with each other because we enjoy the same habits that allow us to escape our life and allow us to numb ourselves. So, those that meet at the bar all the time, well, maybe they're meeting at the bar not because they're friends and they want to have a drink, but because they go to have a drink so they can escape from their life and they can cope and they can deal. Right. So sometimes we form relationships based on our circumstances and our coping patterns. And it's very important to remember who it is and why it is that we are with that person, right? Who it is. I'm not saying that if they're not perfect, don't hang out with them, right? We're all humans. We're all flawed. I'm flawed. It's to understand what you're picking up and how you're exchanging your energy. So if somebody is being a problem, you can be the person that loves them and helps them understand why it is they're reacting the way that they're reacting, so you can help them respond. Love, you just love. And they will either receive that love or they won't receive that love. And if you just keep loving, then that person, if they're loving, they will return that love. And if they're not going to want to receive it. So they're not going to want to be around you. They're going to find a way to say, hey, I don't want you in my life anymore, especially if you are not able to meet their demands when they want their demands met. It's conditional, right? It's conditional. And I think one of the hardest things that I'm learning, and that it can be learned and is universal, really, is that unconditional love, right? Is loving despite, loving despite, loving despite. I don't think that necessarily means allowing the person to continue to hurt you and put yourself in abusive positions, right? Like, but it is understanding that it's not the way to return hate for hate or anger for anger. It is the way to give love instead of those things. So, where it seems like I may have gone all over the place, I promise if you go and check the beginning, it lands, right? Because what is it that we're doing, y'all? We are providing ways for ourselves to become aware, to understand, and to know what it is to be excellent, what it is to know ourselves, what it is to know God, right? And so with that, what it takes is love, because God is love. And what else does it take? It takes knowing what you're consuming, when you're consuming it, how you're consuming it. It's very simple. It's the who, what, where, when, why. Who, what, where, when, and why. And I like to add another one, how, right? And I'm sure there's another one. But the who, what, where, when, and why of what is going down. Where do you show up? How does it happen? Who are you with? What's the intention? Are you receiving energy in exchange? And it doesn't really matter then too. You can be generous and you can be giving and understand that you're coming from an infinite and abundant place, right? So it's about the awareness, the understanding, and the knowledge. And I hope to deliver that in these next few podcasts, staying consistently with you. And then, of course, with Aesop's fables. So you are unstoppable, my friend. I love you. And then look, if you stayed this far and you enjoyed this, please share it out, right? There's a link that you can share. You can take a screenshot. You can tag me in this too. I would love it if we can reach more people. And I'm excited to talk with you more. So we'll talk soon. Share this out. And remember, you are unstoppable. Thanks again. Peace.